Gosh, if there's really a topic that people have thought a lot about over the last 18 months, it has to be education and the role of technology in education. So I'm really excited for this conversation today. So much of what you've been doing for years has kind of become the norm over the last 18 months of the pandemic, as educators have had to use technology and set up virtual classrooms and find ways to engage students when they're not physically in the classroom. How do you think that the pandemic shifted the way that society views technology in education?
Yeah, but I always like to start with a disclaimer because I'm often viewed as something of a poster child for online learning or distance learning, however you want to describe it. But I'll be the first to say that what we've just gone through over the last 18 months is very, very suboptimal. It isn't the best online learning. It is, we could only describe it as pandemic learning. If I had to pick between an amazing in-person teacher for myself, for my own children, for anyone else's children, versus the most amazing technology, distance learning, et cetera, I would pick the in-person every time. I'd also emphasize that these don't have to be mutually exclusive. They got to be a little bit mutually exclusive during the pandemic because we could not be in person. But the ideal is not having to pick and actually using both, having great in-person experiences and actually leveraging technology in ways that meet pedagogical goals, that can help personalize for students, and who actually can that can actually increase interactions between students and teachers and students and each other. But the pandemic, if I were to say there's some silver linings behind it, first of all, the digital divide, which we're all aware of, the United States has actually done a pretty good job about closing it in classrooms, but the pandemic put a big spotlight on the digital divide at home. A lot of people are calling this the homework gap. And it has been very suboptimal. We know that even though a lot of families might have a smartphone, it's not acceptable for 4 or 5 family members to try to share it to do significant work. So we've seen the data. A lot of kids have fallen behind this past year. I was just meeting earlier today with the state commissioner in a major state, showing me their data, and especially from a lot of historically under-resourced communities, they're seeing declines of 20-30% in certain cases, especially in math test scores. Some of that is really because the students didn't have access. A lot of it is, even if they did have access, they didn't have the proper supports to be able to engage on distance learning. Silver lining is more energy than ever behind closing the digital divide at home, or I guess we could say the homework gap. Another potential silver lining is it's been awkward, it's been difficult. Teachers have been doing heroic things to keep kids learning during the pandemic. They've been thrown into the deep end of the pool with technology, and it's been difficult, but that will lower the activation energy going forward for people to try these types of things out. Also, a lot of the best practices that emerged through Zoom schooling or pandemic schooling around don't lecture to people. Let's interact with each other. Let's leverage breakouts. Let's pull kids out of the screen, have a Socratic dialogue. That's always been the best practice in any type of setting, in person or on Zoom. And so I'm hopeful that that will translate. And last but not least, a lot of the things, to your point, that we've been talking about for a long time, that you need to personalize to the needs of individual students. The reason why 70% of kids in America going to community college have to remediate at the middle school level in math. In the four-year colleges, it's not a lot better. About 60% have to remediate at the middle school level in math, is because they keep getting pushed ahead with gaps in their knowledge. A teacher with 30 kids in their classroom, it's very difficult to meet every student where they are. And so technology can help personalize that. And the pandemic, with the variation having grown in student ability, a lot of kids falling behind, a lot more school districts are talking about the needs to personalize, to leverage tools like Khan Academy, to leverage tutoring. We launched a free tutoring platform called schoolhouse.world to do exactly that. So been a tough year, a lot of damage done. The silver lining is people are having the right conversations now.